I just saw an interview with Dario of Anthropic saying that in the next 5 years, all like jobs in like legal and, like professional services are going to be gone. And it's just like, what is this messaging that like, hey, you're going to lose your jobs and like, we should be happy about it? Like, so it doesn't surprise me that there is this like, ongoing backlash to AI.
No, for sure. I think like there's so many things I could say on this. Maybe this is what I should start writing about.
Yeah.
But I do feel like AI one just has like bad PR.
Hmm.
They really need to turn around this narrative. I think no one is ever against a tool or a product or a software that makes their lives easier. I don't
Hmm.
think one would be like, no, sorry, I'm gonna work harder.
Yeah.
But but it's also like you can't threaten people and
Yeah.
be like, use this tool and then it's going to replace you. Like, why should I do it then? I
Hmm.
think if you distill it down, all of the noise, that's kind of what it boils down to, is what I hear and what everyone else I think around me hears too. It doesn't
Hmm.
even matter like which job function you're in right now.
Hmm.
It's constantly like, oh, AI is going to replace you, but also you have to use AI every day.
Yeah.
And that's like it just creates this big cognitive dissonance. Like we're seeing this happen in so many companies. We are seeing so many layoffs that happen,
Hmm.
which really my heart goes out to these people. I've been
Hmm.
in that too. And then we all just know it's because of AI. So it's like we hear that narrative and then we see it in action.
Hmm.
It's really hard to kind of believe that, oh, it's actually just here to make our lives easier. Because
Hmm.
we're not hearing more of those stories just yet.
Yeah, I will push back that they're getting laid off because of AI. I think it's coming out more now that a lot of that
Mhm.
is still based on the overhiring that happened, but they're
Yeah.
using AI to blame it. So it seems as if
Yeah.
it's a good thing to tech companies and the tech space because they want to keep up their valuations. They want to show that they're like
Exactly.
progressing and technologically advanced and all that. But the dark secret behind it all is that they're readjusting
Yeah.
for the mistakes that they made 3
Yeah.
or 4 years ago. So we really need to like push back on that because AI isn't at the point that it's actually able to replace people, right? And like we need to be honest about that. A, but then
Yeah.
B, like you need to also, push back and say like it's not actually replacing humans. I mean, we just saw that like, well, that Jack Dorsey like go from Block have been rehired because it was a
Exactly.
clerical error and it's like no, you
Yeah.
you fucked up. Like you never should have gotten rid of them because they are
For
actually
sure.
needed and you're just trying to like get rid of numbers as opposed to actual, job descriptions that you need.
For sure. And, that I fully agree with you. It's not actually because of AI. There's so many reasons that those cuts
Mhm.
maybe happen, but maybe they can make bigger cuts and just, like, sweep it under the
True.
rug
True,
for
true, true.
sure.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying. It all just contributes to AI just having bad press, I
Right,
feel
right,
like.
right. No, totally, totally. I mean, and this is like the perfect segue into my first two topics because this is, what it is, where it's like audiences are developing an immune response to AI content, right? So two of the stories that I saw this week that we're going to talk about are this new consumer trust report that reports that 78% of Gen Z can identify AI generated images and will scroll past them. So
Mhm.
any marketer that's like defaulting to AI or using it to like, cut corners, you should know that 18 to 25-year-olds are actively turning against it and have watched their CTR drop 40%. So the companies are starting to switch back to real product photos so that, it looks better to Gen Zers. Um, and the second thing is what we saw with Hachette book group pulling the book Shy Girl because the author after like weeks of online speculation that sections of it were AI generated, pulled the US launch of the book and then withdrew the UK edition, which had already been out. It's now been scrubbed from Amazon. But the most telling thing here was that people who had read the book, given it reviews, positive reviews on Goodreads, went back to edit their reviews and specifically mentioned in there saying that they are now retracting their positive review because now they have a negative view because of the her use of AI. Which is kind of wild. And I think what this is showing is that people putting a line in the sand about what they think AI should be used for. It shouldn't be used for the arts, for, like marketing, to make things look fake, to make things appear to be real, making things appear to be better than they are, or like the colors different. Like people want reality and they want people to actually be working, right? Um and, and so it's like, these things are all, I think, indicative of everything else that's happening with AI having such a bad PR rap, right? Where it's like it's jobs, it's art, it's, all these things where it's like, um, we need to make clear, like, where AI is being used. Yes, like no one's going to deny that it does improve some job functions, right? Like, there are some very tedious, marketing things and strategies and tactics that are not the easiest or funnest to do, and defaulting to AI for that is fine. But if it comes
Mhm.
to like AI is writing things for me or AI is doing my work for me, that's where I think my clients are going to be like, whoa, 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 like, why are we taking these shortcuts, you know? So Chi, would love to know your thoughts. I know you've seen all this. You're in the space. I know you have thoughts.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts. I feel like I could talk about this for hours.
Hmm.
One of the first things that I want to say, I feel like maybe we don't realize is that you can, AI is not perfect. And I fully agree. It's not going to replace jobs anytime soon. And people only really realize it for their area of
Hmm.
expertise. So, for example, if I am using Claude or ChatGPT or something for
Hmm.
a report or for a caption, it's very easy for me as an expert in the field to be able to tell when it makes mistakes. But if I'm using it for tax or if I'm using it for a recipe, I will know the difference if it's right
Hmm.
or wrong. So I think something like all of us should keep in mind when we're using it is that we can point out mistakes only in the field that we're aware of. So we have to keep that in mind that it does make mistakes all the time. That's
Hmm.
the thing it does. And the other question that I don't have an
Wait,
answer
just
to.
to jump in on that, I just saw like, a court case where like a judge was pushing back on a lawyer saying like these, cases that are mentioned in your,
Mm,
um, the law document aren't real. So where are you getting this from? So even people in the industry are also missing, very important,
sure.
AI hallucinations or fake data, so like even, that like it requires you to go in and then check the work, right? Like this whole idea that's like, oh, AI can just like, do stuff. It's like, no, it can't. And you also have to go in and check the work yourself to make sure that like what is going out is actually having that like human approval.
All the time, and it's so, interesting that you mentioned that because when I went freelance full-time after my job at HubSpot, I was like, "Oh, well, if AI is kind of doing everything, what are the projects I'm gonna get?"
Hmm.
You'd be so surprised to find out I was tasked with so many projects which were just correcting AI's work. So at the end of the day, like, people will lay off, like, say, full-time employees and then hire consultants like myself to come and correct whatever
Oh my
AI
god.
is doing. So it's just like we created this hamster wheel for ourselves that
Hmm.
we absolutely can get off if we want
Right.
to. And with AI too, I'm not opposed to it at all. I think it's like what Photoshop is to a designer, AI is to whatever you're doing. It's
Hmm.
a tool and it's only as good as you are. So you have to have kind of like that discernment of what is
Hmm.
a good output, what is not, what is facts, what should be rechecked. If you're somebody who's just blindly trusting everything that AI spits out, then that's a skill issue. That
I
is
mean,
you.
that's what happened here, right? Like the 40%, CTR drop. Sure, it's striking on its own, but the point is that a marketer or a gatekeeper posted the photos and then Gen Z was like, "Okay, but you can tell that this is fake, right? Like the lighting looks wrong, the unnatural shadows look wrong." When they noticed that it was fake, immediately their trust level went down. So like it's not just that like, you need to be like doing this because like they're going to notice things. Like you need to start learning these things because it is going to affect your marketing. The brand and the taste and everything also
I
gets affected negatively.
Totally. It reminded me of the Gucci campaign
Oh my
that was like
god, that looked like
people
the
came out.
GTA thing.
It was so bad. And I remember someone on Twitter was like, Does Gucci not have the money to hire, like, an old Italian mob wife character to just, like, be a part of this photo shoot?
Uh-huh.
And it's so true, and, like, for that one, I think it was easier for people to, like, criticize and digest because luxury is not associated with AI. AI is supposed to be, like, cost effective and fast and efficient. None of that kind of goes hand in hand with what we consider luxury and high end and things that
Right.
take time and effort to build.
Mhm.
And I really look back at that example as one of the stories. I'm like, it's not that they shouldn't use AI, it's where they use it
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
really like helps build the trust of not only whoever works at Gucci or wherever, but also of
Mhm.
their audience. That brings me to like a thing I think about all the time, which is I hear it from many leaders and like people across our industry where they're like, no, 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 you got to use AI so it can free up your time and you can do things that you like. As a creative, if I
Mhm.
am using it to do the things I like, which is copywriting, making memes, and all the
Mhm.
fun stuff, pertaining to my job, then what am I gonna do with my free time? I always ask back like, "Okay, it's gonna free up my time, but you're asking me to give it the things that I like to do. So what am I gonna use my free time for?" So I feel
Mhm.
like we haven't quite, I think, just as an industry or as a generation, figured out what that balance looks like of
Mhm.
AI to use and where to use it.
Yeah.
There's a big push from corporations and leadership to use it. So now we're just like shoving it everywhere, which in the end dilutes so much of what we all do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
mistakes, so much more backlash. I think we have to kind of be like, take a step back and
Mhm.
where we actually need to use it. We don't have to use it for copy if we have a great copywriter, unless
Mhm.
they want to use it. So that's like a thing I think about all the time is I need to think of it as a tool and not like a checklist to keep my job, which is
Right.
something that I hear most people are like worried about, like, oh my God, if I don't use it, I'm gonna not have this job. I really hope like we're able to move past that.
Yeah, I agree. We've had this conversation, before where this whole idea of like craft and where you put the craft hours towards versus the AI and like where you're cutting corners, right? If you are a company that wants to denote that you care about craft and you're a maker and you're a builder, using your marketing to cut corners it doesn't make sense for you, which is why I think the Gucci ad was so glaring was like you're trying to promote yourself as a luxury brand and you're cutting corners by making it look cheap, which is
Yeah,
not the message that you're trying to put out there, right?
totally.
Whereas you see, the companies like with Project Hail Mary, right? You're seeing the beautiful cinematography and like all the intense like work that goes into that. Not using AI, to cut corners to make space look, the way that it does in the film, right? And people notice the difference, right? That's one thing here that, like, I do wanna call out with the, like, the Hachette case, which was that, when it kind of came out that this happened, like, first of all, my first thought was, like, so nobody caught it anywhere along the process, right? None of the editors, none of the people, the staff at Hachette who, like, supposedly care about this, about how authors are supposed to be writing and, like, this is the way to do it, and these are the types of books that we put out, and, like, their brand, right? It started with, like, a YouTube video that got 1.2 million views over a book that only sold 1,800 UK, like, copies. That staggering difference in the number is like what companies have to think about when they think about cutting these corners, right? Is it worth the amount of brand loss that you're going to lose because you weren't paying attention or you were trying to get things out like quicker than you needed to? As marketers, these are the decisions that you're going to have to make, going forward. And if it's, something where your boss is pushing back, like, hey, is there a way that we can cut corners? These are the types of stories you need to start like having in like your back pocket of like, hey, I don't know if you heard, but this scandal came out because that's what these end up being, right? Is scandals and that end up being
Yeah,
PR like, cases that then have to be, talked about. And that's where it's like, who's to blame here, right? Like, is it the author who used it? Is it the editors who didn't notice it? Is where is that line, being drawn?
for sure. And again, I feel like art is just one of those things where, of course, like people want to immediately first push it there because
Mhm,
maybe not everybody understands the value of art. And art can be anything. It could be a literal painting, it could be a book, it could be
mhm,
social media stuff.
mhm,
But because it's such an intangible thing and that
mhm,
still costs money,
mhm,
and we often, and I'm sure you understand this, like struggle to show the bottom line effect of social media for companies or the ROI.
mhm,
I think in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of where why I guess maybe there's a push on like, oh, okay, we can just use AI for this. And then it will just follow the circle that we've been seeing where people reject that content. And as a user and as an observer, it's so interesting because it's like I see companies pushing that narrative that you have to
mhm,
use it and it's important and it's changing the way we work and we're so productive and all of the good stuff. But and then I see users being like, I hate this. I don't want to
mhm.
consume generated content.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm very confused like where that gap is coming and why are more leaders not talking about maybe moving slower, maybe moving
Mhm,
at the rate of user adoption and not at the rate of technology advancement. Because
mhm,
like those are two very different paces right now. People are
mhm.
not ready to accept and love and make it a part of their lives like they would with a pet. So we don't have to move at the pace that AI is evolving if your
Mhm.
users are not ready for it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be only left with backlash, maybe not enough users and therefore not enough money. I feel like maybe it's coming from a place of fear, like, oh my God, if we
Mm.
say something about being anti-AI, it's going to cost us our jobs, which is
Yeah.
again very real in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah. I definitely don't think it needs to be, like, anti-AI. I do think there are, um parts where like AI fits in a little bit better. But I agree with you that like there does need to be a conversation had about what leadership is telling marketers about like how to, become more cost effective, how to save money, how to, all these things that leadership is always going to, care about because they care about the bottom line. Um,
Yeah,
running up against the problem of the other bottom line of like if we lose customers because they all of a sudden hate that we're using AI and are telling us that, which bottom line is more important? And these are conversations that you as a marketer need to start getting comfortable pushing back on either side. Right. All the marketers that I talk to, like we like to think of ourselves as kind of being the megaphone to the audience because we're there on the front lines, right? We're there with them with social media, we're there with them in customer interviews, we're there with like the emails and how they respond. So, like, we need to use that as a way to build up our portfolio of reasons and context for why maybe decisions are not the right ones to take at that moment.
absolutely. I also feel like maybe we have a little bit more, this is so rude to say, but like we might have a higher EQ in
Uh-huh.
compared other job functions simply
Mhm.
because we talk to people a lot
Yeah.
more, we interface with them a lot more. So I feel like there should be some weight given to when we push back. And like I
100%.
said, it's an intangible thing. It's hard to quantify
Yeah.
all the time.
Mhm.
Um, that's really it brings us back full circle. Like that's really where like your experience and your taste and discernment come
Totally.
in. This
Mhm.
is not something that Claude or ChatGPT can solve for you.
Mm-mm.
Oh, like the decisions when it comes to crisis or even like really great moments with like virality come from lived experiences. And that is what really would separate a social media manager who has had like 10 years of experience, has like worked with different brands, knows how to deal with like virality, good or bad, versus like an agent who is posting your content and will
Yeah.
respond to your comments. Okay. And
Oh,
what
you
if
mean that AI
we
CMO that just came out?
the radar? What if we have something that is
Yeah.
different? What if, we
Mhm.
post something and we get backlash on it? Like this comes from experience, and that is why, at least in my opinion, like AI cannot replace our jobs, not yet. Is because it doesn't have lived experience. So much, I
Mhm.
mean, so much of the creativity also comes from lived experience,
Yeah.
which it doesn't have. So at the end of the day, you can use it and you should use it as a tool. Like don't want any marketer to be left behind and
Mhm.
not be with the curve. But at the same time, like please don't let this narrative get to you. Like, be confident in your experience and your creativity and your skill set. AI is learning from you. So
Mhm.
the master is the master, not the
Yeah.
students.
Okay, so a couple lessons here. Um, Marketers are on the front lines of this AI debate. We cannot hide behind it because our leaders say, oh, we have to do this, because you're the one that's going to be facing your audience. And when you start losing that CTR, because all of a sudden they're like, oh, this image is shit, or your caption sounds like AI, then you're going to be the one that has to answer to those results. So, your audience is becoming better and better at detecting AI. So you're going to have to stand up for that. Would you stand up for that if it comes down to it? And the problem isn't just about the quality anymore, it's about the trust. Can your audience trust that your product is worth, how much they're paying if you're cutting corners using AI? And then two new ones here, is that retroactive betrayal is a new brand risk. That's what happened with, Hachette here and like the book. That means that people can just go back and change their opinion about something that they thought they liked, when they thought it was, a particular thing, and just completely lose interest in the book and the author, and perhaps even, other Hachette books, because, you ruined it for them by, making it, come from AI. And then, more and more we're seeing that, the contractor did it is not a defense anymore. Mia Ballard might be telling the truth about, whether the contractor that she hired to edit her book used AI without her knowing, but the results are still the same. They pulled her book. The audience doesn't care about the production process. All they care about is that AI was involved. And now the book isn't being sold anymore. And I doubt she'll be able to sell another book through, going the publisher route again, unfortunately.
No, I fear we don't live in a time where we can separate like the art from the artist. It's
Mhm.
just not that era. We are very much in a position where we will literally support the artist even if the art is bad, if we like
Yeah.
what who they are and what they stand for, right? We
Right.
just do that anymore. So we have to be very cognizant of the fact of what we're saying, what we're supporting, what are the causes we stand for. But honestly, yeah, like these are very much giving consequences of your actions.
Mhm.
So, um,